horrifying aliens, lonely isolation, terrifying atmosphere. There's so many things in the Metroid series that can cause fear to the most hardened of players. And then there's just blatant jump scares, but then again, we can all agree Ridley's scream in the GBA games is the scariest thing in the Metroid franchise. But regardless, I thought it would be a fun video since, you know, it's the spirit of Halloween to talk about 5 more times I was afraid of the Metroid franchise. Now keep in mind, some of these moments may not necessarily be scary, but these are just personal moments where I was genuinely afraid in the Metroid series, and I thought it would be pretty cool to share with you guys. So if you have your own opinions or your own stories you want to tell, feel free to leave it in the comments section. I don't want to feel like I'm the only one afraid of anything in the Metroid franchise. So with that being said, let's cue up that video and roll out that intro. Now out of all the bosses in the Metroid franchise, I feel like Nightmare has a really unique horror vibe. The entire aesthetic of Nightmare is just a genetic abomination, an ungodly creature created by man for some unknown reason. The way he just phases into the battleground during Metroid Fusion kind of implies that he's kind of a ghost, and it's really scary. I remember specifically 4th grade me was extremely terrified of seeing Nightmare's eyes oozing green liquid. It was like the most graphic thing I've seen at the time, and with the fact that his mask tears off and you see like his face melt out of his entire body socket, it was just too much for my little mind to comprehend, and I was genuinely terrified of ever seeing Nightmare again. In fact, I even remember having a couple of nightmares of like people's eyes melting and faces melting off. But I guess Nightmare lives up to his reputation because he gave nightmares. Oh wow, Metroid Prime Hunters. The only thing scary about this game is its control scheme. But regardless, I have a lot of good memories about Metroid Prime Hunters. It was my first Prime game after all, and I do genuinely enjoy a lot of the mechanics and gameplay of this game. And one of my favorite things about the game is the fact that there's different bounty hunters scattered throughout the map that you can randomly encounter for some cool one-on-one battles. And in one way or another, most of these hunters did scare me for an initial amount of time, but I was never afraid of them. Kaiden's Volt Driver did scare me because it messed up the screen, but I wasn't really afraid of Kaiden. Weevil's Turret did freak me out because I thought there was 2 different bounty hunters fighting me at once, but I got over it pretty quickly. And Solix's constant damage with the shock coil did freak me out, but it's nothing I didn't really get over real quick. Can't say the same for Trace though. Now the thing that really scared me about Trace was that if he lowered his health to a certain amount of points, he would go into his morph ball form. A lot of the hunters do that actually. But the thing about Trace though is that he looks like a big red bloody spider, and the fact that his morph ball attack, instead of dropping bombs, he just lunges straight at you. That freaked me out when I was in like what, 5th, 6th grade? That's scary. I don't want to see a giant bloody spider attacking me. I did eventually beat Trace because the lunge doesn't do too much damage relatively speaking, but after that moment I don't want to see him again, so I did my best to avoid Trace at all costs. If there was a planet I wanted to explore and I saw that Trace was on that planet, I'll avoid that planet, go somewhere else, and hope that when I come back he rotates away from that planet and I can go explore. So when it came to the single player experience, I was terrified of Trace. Can't say the same for the multiplayer. I mean, come on, invisibility and a sniper rifle. I love Trace. Now the Metroids are scary creatures. No duh. But the main reason I feared most of the Metroids in the Prime games was simply for the fact that when the Metroids attack, they cover your visor in their ugly mouths. The horrible visuals, the obscured vision, and the dropping HP would strike fear in any players. I remember playing the Metroid Prime trilogy. I panicked when the Fissure Metroid attacked and I forgot which button activated the Morph Ball bomb. Another example of this would be when I was playing Metroid Prime Hunters, the sudden attack of a Quadroid kinda made me drop my stylus because I was in shock, and my frantic tapping of the Morph Ball button didn't really register because I kept on spamming it and I couldn't activate the Morph Ball. But also the visuals of the aliens grabbing onto your face kind of reminded me too much about Alien, and for the longest time, like around elementary to junior high, I was too afraid of the Alien franchise, so that also kind of added some fear into the whole event. Oh wow, Other Rem. The only thing scary about this game is its story. Oh wait, I think I used that joke earlier. So I feel like Other Rem had a lot of potential moments that could genuinely be scary and full of tension and horror, but for whatever reason, most moments are kind of deflated for one reason or another. Going through a volcano with no Varia suit, that could be actual tension and horror, but the whole plot elements of you're not authorized to use these upgrades kinda kills the tension. Oh wow, look, Nightmare! This horrid abomination that gave me nightmares when I was in 4th grade. But even though its 3D model does look good, it doesn't compare with the 2D sprite, and it doesn't have the whole horror vibe that it once had. For one reason or another, a lot of scary moments and tension just don't live up to what they should be in Other M. Which kinda makes me kind of embarrassed to say, but the one scary moment that did actually throw me off was activating the Desperate Chains by powerbombing them. In my defense, I didn't expect the thing covering up these entryways to be an actual creature. I just assumed it was a super dense metal that could only be destroyed by the powerbomb's extreme heat. So when the creature did get activated, I was kinda caught off guard and got a game over because I wasn't really expecting the thing to defeat me so easily. Tried defeating it again, and oh boy, these creatures are extremely aggressive and extremely durable. It took me a couple tries to actually defeat the first Desperate Chain, and after that I did my best to try to avoid as many of these creatures as possible, but to get 100% you kinda need to go through the doorways that these creatures are blocking. It was just a scary time regardless. Although it's kinda sad to say that this moment specifically was scarier than all of Metroid Other M. But then again, it's Other M, so it's gonna be sad regardless. Originally, I was not afraid of the Ing during Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. When we first encountered the Dark Troopers, I was actually very excited. Wow, zombified troopers? That's so cool! And also the whole concept of a parasite infecting a host's body and using that body as a tool to do whatever the hell they want to do was nothing new in Metroid. So I was actually more excited to see what other zombified creatures I can find in this game. That was until we got to see the footage over what happened to GFS Fire? Fire? I don't know how to pronounce this word. I'm more afraid of pronouncing it than I am of SAX. But regardless, the found footage of GFS Fire really makes my skin crawl, because I guess it's just the imagery of all the spider-like Ing literally just crawling and infesting and overwhelming the Galactic Federation troopers on board of this ship. My jaw dropped just seeing these troopers trying their best to fight off this entire horde of Ing, and just one by one, all of them just falling and dying, and it really made me change my perspective on the Ing. I went from being excited to see what creatures they can be to more fear and paranoid, because now that I know that they look more spider-like, it just makes my skin crawl. And when the footage was over, I was kind of half expecting some Ing to still be infesting somewhere around the wrecked GFS ship, so I was kind of afraid to explore a little further for a while. But what do you guys think? Have you experienced similar situations where you're afraid of the Metroid franchise? Have you experienced completely different moments in the Metroid franchise that were scary to you? Or maybe you don't think anything I said was necessarily scary. I know there's a couple moments in here that aren't really scary, but these are just my own personal moments where I was afraid of. Whatever your opinion is, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And if you want to see 5 other moments where I was afraid in the Metroid franchise, you know, cause it's the spirit of Halloween and all that, feel free to click on the video above. It's a video where I talk about 5 different moments where I was afraid in the Metroid franchise. It's a pretty spooky video. It's talking about 5 different moments where I was afraid of the Metroid franchise. It's a cool little video and I like how it turned out. So with that being said, I'm the Metroid Trainer. I hope you like, favorite, and subscribe, and stick around for next time because I'll be seeing you later.